Not too long ago, I unboxed the Rane commercial RH50, a pair of headphones I believe punch well above their price. Based upon my tests, it is apparent that the RH50, despite its plastic build and low cost and typical dynamic driver design, is indeed worth consideration. But Rane has two other headphones. I was not particularly interested in the RH1, but was intrigued by the RH2, which has a larger driver than either the RH1 or the RH50. A subscriber generously sent me his RH2 to review. He purchased it and had it mailed to me for review. So, is the RH2 something drastically different from the RH50, and what does it actually compete against? Well, the short answer is yes, it is definitely different from the RH50, but I'm not quite sure what it is competing against, and I don't mean that in a bad way. You may not be familiar with Rane commercial. Until I discovered the RH50, I didn't know Rane existed. I've tested the RH50 and put it against the audeze LCD1, a David versus Goliath comparison that amusingly concluded very biblically. The RH50 leans on the neutral side with a slight emphasis in the treble. The RH50's bass is fast but not deep. The sub-bass isn't very present in the RH50, but there is excellent separation between the bass and mids. Those who are treble sensitive, however, would likely find the RH50 a little beyond their comfort zone. So, when I got the RH2, I was curious. Is it possible that Rane commercial could create two very different sounding headphones? You can appreciate my skepticism. Where large companies with 100 years of audiophile history have a hard time making headphones sound different, I had little faith that the relatively unknown Rane commercial could succeed. But they have. I have been listening to the RH2 for almost 2 months. My initial impression setup was with the Sabaj D5 feeding into the Bellari HA540 Mark II amplifier. The RH2 is vastly different from the RH50. As I said, the RH50 is a mostly neutral headphone. The RH2 is not. The RH2 has a significant bass boost. There is a sub-bass rumble that the RH50 cannot recreate. But this does not mean that the RH2 has a muddy bass. It doesn't. In fact, the RH2 has good sub-bass and mid-bass separation. It's by no means the best I've ever heard, but for the price, quite good. More importantly, despite the bass boost, the bass does not overwhelm the mids. This means that vocalists still sound clear and distinct when bass instruments are playing. In pure water, the bass is strong but fast. It does not overwhelm the vocals. Crank up the volume and you can hear the sub-bass rumble, which does not sound like a subwoofer is right next to your head. Surprisingly, the RH2's response with pure water is truly amazing. No matter how loud I listened, the RH2 never distorted. The bass never overtook the mids. The song never became harsh. At one point, I cranked the volume up so loud I couldn't hear my dogs barking in my face. I had a giant grin on my face though because the bass was thumping without distorting and the mids were crystal clear without sounding harsh. Vocal-centric songs like Why Am I Like This by Orla Gartland sounded noticeably smoother than on the RH50. Whereas the RH50 emphasized a bit of Orla's sibilance, the RH2 rolled it off. I could still hear the natural grain in Orla's voice, and I noticed the sparkle in her voice, but it was smoother compared to the RH50. You could say a little bit more laid back in comparison. Orla's voice was clear and distinct. The guitar and drums never overwhelmed her, but the drums did have more emphasis than they did on the RH50. On orchestral pieces like Scherzo for X-Wings, the RH2 rolled off the treble energy so that the horns and brass did not sound ear-piercing. There was still plenty of energy in the treble, but not as much as on the RH50, thankfully. On the RH50, Scherzo can become harsh because of the RH50's treble bump. The bass, oh man, the bass in Scherzo was emphasized just enough so that the ear cups resonated at high volume. This wasn't distortion, just a bit of rumble. There were times when the RH2 sounded a lot like my $1,200 Sony soundbar and subwoofer setup, and that, frankly, is fantastic. There are similar headphones out there, I'm sure, but I can't recall any other headphone that do exactly what the RH2 does, especially at this price point. The bass is elevated but not muddy. The mids retain clarity and detail without being harsh. The treble has energy without becoming uncomfortable. In fact, I listened to the RH2 at low volume all the way past safe listening volume, and not once did the headphones distort. Fun. That's how I would describe it. The RH2 is a fun pair of headphones. At $70, they are definitely worth considering if you're looking for a guilty pleasure. Clearly, the RH2 will need to be put through its paces, but I can say without hesitation that it is indeed another fantastic headphone from Rane Commercial. Who are these guys?